So if you could put your hands together at this time, ladies and gentlemen, Tim Barnhart.
Hi everybody, my name's Tim Barnhart. As Keith had just said, I've been in cannabis for a long time, 39 years. So I've been growing commercially for about 15 years, mainly on First Nation and only for medical purposes. So that all took place from an injury that I broke my hip in 2010, which got me into dispensing, at which time I opened Legacy 420. Today it has 42 people, full-time employees with a full-time doctor, 2 biochemists on staff. We manufacture and create over 200 products ourselves using organics, not pesticides, no herbicides are used in any of our flour. We also grow hemp as well, and both can be bought at our store. So needless to say, this is a plant, until we get some information up here. I'll just talk a little bit about cannabis as a plant. We seem to be hearing all these corporations and LPs about huge investments, you can't do this, you don't have the right, it's the provincial government has to be involved. None of that's true. As administrators know here, we have an inherent right to do this. And I made a stand 4 years ago and challenged my council then to take my case to the Crown Attorney's Office, at which time they did. And I'm still standing, and that was 4 years ago. So if you're looking for help in growing cannabis, growing hemp, don't look to the LPs, guys. Like, don't give your wealth away. All that system is about is stealing your wealth. There are quite a few LPs out there now that state, in fact, that they're hiring Indigenous people. They're not. There's 5 or 6 total Indigenous people hired so far throughout Canada through the LP system. I didn't hear the last presenter talk about taxation and how that might help our people. All I heard was him talking about the profit his company and his shareholders will be derived from that. From your land, your labor, our lands. I mean, that doesn't sound too lucrative to me. So there is an alternate way. This is a plant. We are hunters-gatherers, and I just don't understand why this has to be so complex for people to understand. It's a plant, it needs water, it needs sun, and it needs oxygen. It doesn't need all that herbicide, pesticide, and be radiated at the end. How can that be good for us? I mean, for 150 years, the system has been feeding us, clothing us, housing us, and now they want to feed us our medicine again. A medicine that we can all grow on our nations and enrich ourselves and enrich our own people. We don't, I personally don't trust the government. I met with Health Canada 3 or 4 months back through NIMCA with a plan to regulate this industry ourselves, and it was just, these gentlemen come in and they get to talk to the province, they get to talk to the feds, they get to talk to everybody, but we don't get to talk to anybody. I mean, it's a system that's leaning against us, again, from what I can see. There's only one First Nation in Canada that's been given an LP license. And I'm just stunned, folks, to say, what are we doing? We're letting this industry get away from us. I was involved in the fish wars, the tobacco wars in my territory in Tyendinaga. And every situation that I've been in, it's always gained at the end by the oppressor, right? And this seems to be the same way. They're coming up here and telling us that you can't do this. And I say hooey on that. I'm living proof that you can do this. You know, like, my case has been in the Crown Attorney's office 3 times, and I'm still standing. So, I gotta tell you guys, you know, just look within and look within your own communities to do this. So, yeah, so exercise and sovereignty, that's exactly what this is about. It's doing it yourself. We have plenty of farmers in St. Paul and all First Nations across Canada. We've got lots of people who are growers. So, Legacy was, it's 10,000 square feet. It's a medical cannabis facility. It's state-of-the-art. So we've got all the testing machines that Health Canada uses. We have them in our building. So we have Dr. Hornby operating all the machinery, mass spectrometer, and liquid chromatography. So NIMCA came as a result of just that. We saw where this was going, and the LPs were pouring on fast, eating up, talking to First Nations, trying to get them to allow them to move on to First Nation. And I thought, you know what? We need to create an organization where we can look after ourselves, regulate ourselves, create our own standards, and move this ourselves. So, the board of directors, we have board of directors in just about every province. We're heading out to, the only ones we don't have is Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and Newfoundland. So we'll be heading out there in the spring and hopefully sign up the rest of the provinces. So there's some of the equipment we use. You've got a liquid, an LC on this side, which is used for testing cannabinoids. That scary THC and other stuff that presenters have been talking about are tested on these machines. The machine on the far right is a mass spectrometer. These are machines you can buy yourself. There's $100,000 total investment in these 2 machines. So that gives you everything that Health Canada requires. As long as your product is healthy and tested, and there's no organized crime involved in that, and you are tracking that from seed to sale, you're doing everything the government's doing. So as I said, we created this as a model to run our own system, and we're seek to unite individuals across Canada. Yeah, so accessibility was huge. I not sure how that mail system is going to work, but if you're growing your own on your own nation, you can do the seed to sale, do your efficacy testing out front, and move that around into processing and out to retail. So, okay, so cannabis as a talk to make clash with traditional Indigenous values, culture, sense of cannabis education is critically needed. So we realized early on that community members about cannabis was crucial, and education as a primary objective of NICA's from day one. So my First Nation was no different than any other First Nation. When I opened up, there was a lot of concerns about what I was selling and how I was selling it and what I was doing. So we reached out to the community and started holding meetings with them and to notify them of what we were doing, and that we were testing this product and that we had the right to do this product. And it's been moving along pretty good now. So we do have council supporting us now. There's 30 shops on our nation. All of them are doing well. We are lucky enough to be stuck between Toronto and Montreal, just 2 minutes from the 401, so we're doing pretty good. Okay, so I think we're all pretty much aware of what we can do and what we're not allowed to do on our First Nations. I think that what we have done, and what a lot of other nations have done, is pass ban council resolutions allowing for the purchase and sale of cannabis under First Nation. So what we haven't really talked about was the criminal penalties that are involved in this. And so whether you're a dry reserve or you want to get involved in this, either way, you should really have a ban council resolution and basically excluding yourself from this or including yourself into it, because if you don't, people who do use and grow on your nation and are charged will be charged under the Canadian law. So pretty important mechanism to be looking into. There's probably six right now. Mostly Mohawk nations in Quebec and Ontario have gone ahead with the resolutions and have begun the draft of their regulations and standards to regulate this themselves. So there's been no talk with the provinces at all in Ontario. So we suppose that the province has no force or effect on our First Nations in Ontario, and I feel the same way here. So the lack of consultation was another reason. It's been a big issue. I've talked to anybody who will listen. I wrote the Prime Minister when he was first elected and sent him a letter telling him who I was and what I was doing, and that in fact I did have an inherent right to do this, and that I would be moving forward and opening up a dispensary, at which I did. So I'd asked him to consult with us. Prior to the consultation began, I told him that we understood that he was going to legalize, and that it would be a good idea if he came down and start the consultation with us. At which time he never did. We never got any recognition from anybody out of Ottawa. Okay, so cannabis and restrictions, being able to provide medical information numbers at the distribution point. Yeah, so part of what seems to be difficult for a lot of people to understand in this file is that there's really two programs. So you've got the federal program that looks after medical since 2001. You all have a constitutional right. And then there is Mr. Trudeau's legalization or recriminalization, which is entirely different. So one system, your product has to be tested, believe it or not, under recreational. It has to be tested under medical. It doesn't have to be tested. Does that make any sense to anybody? No, it didn't to me either. So, what Tiny Nega has been doing with most of the dispensaries is focusing on strictly medical. So recreational is a provincial, federal, medical is federal. So if you stay under medical, you stay under federal. If you go with the recreational, will be dealing with the province. So we've made a conscious decision not to be involved with the province at all, so that means recreational sales as well. Yeah, developing is the only way to inclusive system will be developed. The federal government is trying to give the impression that they're the only ones capable of providing a self-regulated product. So I think I've demonstrated that through 4 years of operation, and 1.5 million people have come through our store, Legacy 420. And not one person has gotten sick, okay? I operate without any liability insurance because you can't get insurance for this product yet. So if I didn't believe in what I was doing, I certainly wouldn't be putting what I built on the line every day. So what you're hearing from the government is a bunch of scare tactics. They want you to think that they're the only ones capable of doing this, but we're here to say that, you know, there's not only just me, but the fellows in the back too. There's a lot of us here that are independent growers that grow for the love of growing and grow for the love of the sector. So it's absolutely possible to develop regulations and standards on First Nations. So as I just alluded to a minute ago, there's 6 First Nations who have done so, and they are in different levels of developing those standards and regulations, and they hope to have them done in the next 18 months. And I do too, because I'd love to see a way forward for our people too. Yeah. There's some of your First Nations that have regulated and created standards already. So Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte, that's my First Nation has already done that. Ganawaki First Nation, There's quite a few of them that are going ahead with their own regulations. And it's not a scary proposition to do at all. It's not something you have to hire a bunch of lawyers to do. It's just pragmatic. Just take some of the regulations that are already pre-existing out there to be First Nation, use our regulations, and augment them if necessary, right? It's not a big chore to do. Okay, so this is the easiest way. So what we've done on Time and Egg, and what NIMCA would like to do is the community consultation. So whether you're for or against this, consultation needs to happen. You have to reach out, you have to find out what people want to do. And once you do that, you're DCR. So whether you're for or against, I seriously think you should get one either way. So when you do, you're establishing your grow-ups, your requirements, your seed-to-sale traceability, genetics, processing systems, guidelines, point-of-sale systems, establish a regulating price, inspect and audit grow facilities, over to grow harvesting, and then you can have your co-op growers at the bottom. You could start, these are just examples, they could be more, they could be less. Your seeds are controlled by your First Nation or an IMCA, so the genetics belong to you, so there's no down the road, you know, but genetics is another important part of this. Strains are being prioritized, and so in the future, seeds and clones are going to be very expensive, so our genetics are very, very important and worth a lot of money. So those genetics will be given to your grower. In the fall time, they come back, they go through analytical testing, over to wholesale, processing, retail, back to nation opportunities. It's not complex, it's exactly what the federal government's done, exactly. I advocate anybody who wants to see this actually be done in real time to come down and see what we're doing on Time and Egg. And not just on Time and Egg, but there's other territories now in Quebec too that are doing the same thing. So it's caught on very quick. And yes, I implore people to come and see what we're doing. So we do everything. We do extractions. We have a commercial bakery. Okay, so we're doing it all in one place, just like they are, without all the added red tape and taxation. Thank you, folks.